The Yankees ended up winning the World Series that year, I think.
Oh,
Chad,
yeah.
is that a year you recall?
I don't remember who they beat though.
Yeah.
I have to look that up.
Welcome to Yank Your Mets, the podcast that covers all things Yankees and Mets, always down the middle and just a bit outside. I'm your host, Phil Wolf. I will be your Yankees fan for the remainder of the program. I'm joined as always by my co-host, Chad Mr. Met Vossen. Chad, good to see you.
Always good to see you too, sir.
Thank you. It's good to be seen. We're going to talk about a lot today. I think we'll do a little weekend review. We're going to cover the trade deadlines, who we got, and maybe more importantly, who we gave up. And we're also going to talk about maybe some of the better trade deadline acquisitions from for our respective teams through the year. So it'll be interesting to see who you have on your list. We're also going to talk salary cap because I think that is sort of the big topic of conversation going around the league. But let's start with our weekend review. Do you want to kick off with the Mets, because the last time we recorded this, the Mets hadn't lost since the first recording. They're undefeated on the season. But the Mets have hit kind of a little bit of a skid.
They did. Yeah, no, they were hot, and as the Mets do, the bats went instantly cold. And surprise, surprise, none of their starters could make it past 5. And so we dropped 3 in a row to San Diego. That was a blast. Then came home. We're like, let's lose one to San Francisco as well. We started hot and then just went ice cold. 500 West Coast road trip. Okay, I can get behind that ish. I mean, finishing 500 after being 3-0, not exactly where you want to be. But good week, a good bounce back win yesterday. The top of the order finally came through. I think they had like 10 RBIs or something like that yesterday, so that was nice. So not a bad week. Some good additions at the deadline. Did give up a bit much in one of the trades that just feels like an anomaly, but overall it was a decent week. It was good trade deadlines, a couple nice wins there at the beginning. But how about your week? Some trouble on the base paths.
Yeah, a lot of trouble on the base paths. There were 2 really glaring base running blunders the Yankees committed, and the first one, and maybe the worst one, was Austin Wells. Here's the situation. Austin Wells was on first, 1 out. Trent Grisham comes up to try to bunt for a hit, and he almost makes it. Austin Wells moves over to second and just starts wandering off the base. The defense tags him out. He gets caught in a rundown and he's out, and the inning's over. Just the most boneheaded play. And then the Yankees lose 13-12 to the Marlins in maybe one of the worst games in the history of the Yankees. I think it's the first time the Yankees have lost a game on the road after scoring 12 runs since 1940. Yes. So this is a heartbreak of a game. And so we got to come back and beat the Marlins. Game 2. And we show up flat. And it started in the second inning with Jazz on first base, 1 out. Paul Goldschmidt pops up to the infield. But Jazz is like looking at the ball, and he's just kind of looking up and not really realizing what's going on. The second baseman catches the ball, fires over to first, and forces Jazz out. And we're just like, what? What were you thinking? What were you thinking? Michael Kay said it on the broadcast. What was he thinking? And we got Jazz's explanation. He said, I thought he was going to drop it intentionally and, had the ball hit the ground. I've played here. The ball's going to bounce real high, and I would have made it to second base and gotten there in time and all of this. Nonsense. You cannot assume that a fielder is going to intentionally let the ball drop. That's not how you play the game. That's not how you play the game. I don't care that he's done it before. I don't care if he thought the second baseman was deking him. You cannot assume that he is going to drop the ball.
I think the part that is the most frustrating, it's like you're already down Judge. And Jazz Chisholm is like the next guy in that lineup, or one of the guys that you just need to step up. And he does the opposite in that moment. where it's like he's the guy or one of the main guys that you need to pick things up, and that's what you get, and that's disappointing.
Yeah. When he was
know.
asked if he would do anything differently, he said no, which is like, bro, you got to own that, man. The best way to ingratiate yourself with Yankees fans is to own your shit. You can't just sit there and say like, nah, I did everything that I was supposed to do. Like, you clearly did not. You clearly did not.
If you did, you'd be standing on first.
Yeah. I mean, it just inexcusable, unforgivable, however you want to describe it. Something's got to change, and the Yankees got to start playing more disciplined baseball. I think the problem is, like, these guys are fully baked. Baseball players, by the time they get to the major leagues, you're not teaching them anything new. You're not. You can't, if they don't know that you have to tag up on a fly ball.
Yeah.
And make sure your foot is on first when the fielder catches the ball. If they don't learn that, if they haven't learned it now, they're not going to learn it. Right? There's nothing
too much to learn
do.
at that point if they haven't learned those kinds of things.
For the rest of the game, the Yankees were flat. They did nothing offensively, and it just probably the worst way to follow up a loss like that that I've seen in a long time. When you need to win a game, the Yankees were only a half game into second place ahead of the Red Sox. Now they're in third place. And they're just sinking. They're sinking fast. And that's after, there had been some bright spots. Volpe had been playing well. He'd been hitting. And so you think, gosh, they're going to turn it around. They had just taken 3 out of 4 from the Rays. You think, okay, like, the Rays play us tough. This is a team that, we got to beat, and they do. And then you come into Miami and you just crap the bed, and you look so bad doing it. Trade deadline has come and gone. Both the Mets and Yankees have made a flurry of moves to bolster the bullpen, which I think was a pretty glaring need for both teams. With some of the other moves that you made, and you said this offline, the move to get Tyler Rogers from San Francisco. You guys gave up a haul.
A crap load. It was weird because all the other trades, you're like, all right, cool. Who we give up? And it was like
the move to
nobody.
Get
like, it was, there were some
Tyler
fringe,
Rogers
good players if you really
guys
know the Mets prospects, but it wasn't any of the, we didn't give up Sprode or Jet Williams or like any of those guys that it would take to probably land a good starting pitcher. But for Rogers to give up that much, like load. 3, where you're like, wait, what? Like, all of them in the one trade. The only thing I can logically think of is that he had a feeling like the Phillies were going after them, and he had to, like, he also made that move to prevent him from going to like Philadelphia or the Dodgers or whatever. That's the only thing I got, because all the other trades, fantastic, but that one I'm like, wow. And Buteau, like, they could convert him to a starter if they wanted to. He was a starter until a couple of years ago, and then he was a very reliable and a workhorse.
You guys
in good players, if you really, like, he came in, pitched well, and that doesn't happen with all pitchers, and especially it doesn't happen with young pitchers. Like, when you have a proven playoff pitcher, you keep it. Like, because you just, that's amazing. And then to give him up it's aggressive. Like, in addition to all that, like, that was a lot. And even Rogers, to give up Gary Cohen, the Mets announcer, was a crap load. That much, like 3.
A lot.
Like, and like, granted, he's pretty outspoken. Of he I don't think that they're keeping the reins on him or whatever, but to hear him say it the way he said it was like, wow, like, that's just a lot to give up for this guy. For, at the end of the day, what's it going to be, like 20 something innings? In the grand scheme of, and even if you go deep in the playoffs, maybe 30. That's a lot to give up. So, I mean, overall, I like all the moves the Mets made. I think, like I said, I knew he was going to be tinkering with the bullpen. I give it a B plus.
Okay.
I guess if I'm a teacher, which I'm not. I just think we just gave up too much for Rogers. I like all of the other moves. I like 3 of the 4 moves. made all the sense. The Rogers, what we gave up for that one is just a weird outside anomaly. So I'd go BB plus somewhere in there.
Cool.
How about yourself?
I'd give you a BB plus too. I
You
think
give
it's
my response B plus.
a B plus. A grade A response. I think time will tell. I think you can only grade them regardless of what they do down the road. Your grade has to be, did you address the needs of the team at the time? The Yankees came out of the trade deadline with very high grades. I think our biggest weakness, which is normally a strength, was our bullpen. And I think if Cashman has a superpower, it's managing bullpens and finding the right arms and getting guys off the scrap heap. This year, he went all in. He said they were going to go to town, and they did. They picked up Doval from San Francisco, Bednar from Pittsburgh, and Bird from Colorado. Names that might not be household names, but when you looked at the numbers.
Around your household there.
Around my house. I mean, yeah, just everyone knows Jake Bird. But yeah, all in all, we were feeling really excited coming out of the deadline. And then, of course, wouldn't you know it, the first game they all come in and each one of them finds a way to blow it. And it's left Yankees fans reeling, thinking like, these are the guys we got, Have your prospects, have your acquisitions had much time to show themselves in the majors yet?
Yeah. With mixed results. Soto came in, promptly gave up a run, so I wasn't, I understand that feeling, but yeah, I mean, he looked good yesterday. Came in, did pretty well. The other guys came in, did fine. Cedric Mullins had a nice day yesterday. Contributed, got a hit.
How about that, Cedric Mullins?
Yeah, hit by pitch, stolen base, run, 2 runs, I think. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of 220 batting average hitters. I don't care for them. But from all accounts, I did have to text Matt Kalk, a mutual friend of ours who is an Orioles fan. I said, will I like Cedric Mullins? And he said, you're going to love him. So I was like, okay. I enjoyed that because I definitely value Matty's opinion. And from all accounts, he's just a class act. He's a good dude. He's got streaky pop. I feel like every outfielder we have has streaky pop. But overall, good plus defender, and we need that.
Well, the Yankees got a pair of 3 really nice arms, Doval, Bednar, Bird. As I mentioned earlier, all of them just crapped the bed their first time out. And so while I'm confident that this was just kind of a one-off, and I'm not going to get too excited about, any grand slams that Bird gave up, or the home run that Bednar gave up to tie the game, or the runners that Doval put on base to eventually lose the game in the 9th inning. I'm not going to get wrapped up in that. I'm not even gonna talk about it. Speaking of Bednar, though, one of the funny things, he comes in his first outing, and we got 2 outs in that inning. And Michael Kay says, I'm talking to the Marlins broadcaster, and he said, Bednar's a good player. Just watch out. He doesn't have great numbers in Miami. Very next pitch, game-tying home run. And as if it were he was listening. Oh, yep, time to blow it.
Oh, that's right. I don't.
That's right. I've forgotten I don't know how to pitch in Miami all of a sudden, and now the game's tied. The Bednar trade specifically, of the 3, and they all have great numbers, but the Bednar trade, I think, was the one that we gave up the most for. Catcher/first baseman Rafael Flores, the number 8 prospect in the Yankee system at the time. This kid was raking. He had just got promoted to AAA. He was having a great season. And, it's unfortunate that we have 2 catchers in the major league lineup already in Austin Wells and Ben Rice, who's now kind of solidified the backup catcher role. And so there really wasn't a path forward for him. And it's just one of those things where you're just like, what do? I got to give up something to get something. And in this case, it was Rafael Flores. Otherwise, I thought the trade was pretty good. And I feel happy with our arms moving forward. That being said, they got to pick it up. Let's talk salary cap here for
Let's
just
do
a
it.
second, Chad, because over the last week, a story broke that Rob Manfred had visited with the Phillies and had floated the idea of instituting a salary cap in baseball. Baseball has famously never had a salary cap. Curious to get your thoughts on whether you think a salary cap is A, coming for baseball, and two, does it really need a salary cap?
I think it's coming. I don't think it needs it. I think the soft cap is a. I don't think it's broken. I do think there's some contracts that are just getting ridiculous. Like the term and the length are also getting a bit wild, but at the same time, it's like, who do you blame? Like, the players are holding out for X and Y and Z because they can, and then the owners can't help themselves. Like, they just cannot help themselves, and they will spend whatever. So it's kind of, I think it will come, probably after a lockout, I would guess, because if Bryce Harper's attitude is any indication, it's not going to go well. It really just depends upon all the sort of mid to fringe, mid lower fringe tiers. If they're going to outnumber the guys that are blowing away these, the Soto contracts, the Harper contracts. There's only a couple of those on a team, so they're not the majority. It is just such a nuanced and difficult road, and I don't see how they reach a conclusion without there being some type of stoppage. I just, if that's the sort of attitude that Harper is going to take already, and like, it's not like, I think he knew he was coming because Manfred's going to every team, right? And you gotta have a more grown up or professional response to that. Like, maybe he's trying to set the tone, maybe he's trying to, shock the owners into something's coming. That response is not the best way. I mean, now you're just sort of escalation, and now it's like, how do you walk it back? How do you take it down?
I agree with you. This was not the most adult approach to take, especially with the commissioner. But I don't know. I was kind of like, you go get him, Bryce. You tell him when I heard that. He kind of redeemed him in my eyes a little bit. Whether or not
He's a nice guy.
he's a nice guy, except for unless you're Rob Manfred.
Yeah.
And the owners have tried. They've tried, before every work stoppage. Namely, the big one was in 1994. They tried to implement a salary cap. Players said no. And that was really the advent of the luxury tax system and revenue sharing, which I think is actually a pretty decent system. I don't think we're going to necessarily get a salary cap. I think we'll find, as we've seen before, stiffer penalties for exceeding certain tiers within the threshold, whether it's your first, second, or third tier. Doesn't seem to dissuade teams from spending, and a larger piece of the pie for the smaller market teams who are the benefactors of that revenue sharing. The Marlins, the Twins, all of these teams, the Pirates, that just don't historically spend a ton of money. I just don't know what a cap will do to change the game in terms of making it fairer. And I do think we have to put more onus on the owners that own these small market teams to spend a little bit more money or get more creative with their money, because so much of the problem is these owners just don't care. I mean, I went to a Pirates game early in the season, and this was their home opener, and they had airplanes flying with banners that said "Sell the team." I mean, this is where the fans have gone, right? Because they're so sick of their owners not investing. And these are billionaires.
I mean, look at Milwaukee. They they had to let Adames go. It's the teams that invest the money and invest the money the right way. I mean, I just think it's going to be interesting if they do come up with one. You have all these mega contracts. So now you're implementing this cap, and Juan Soto's contract for the next 14, if he doesn't opt out, which the whole opt out thing just drives me nuts anyway, but whatever. If this guy's playing for the Mets in 12 years, our cap is screwed already with Lindor and him on there. Whatever that cap number is, it's going to impact that, because now we have all these legacy contracts. We only have a couple of them, but there are these guys that have these mega deals that's going to impact the cap a little bit. I'm curious to see how they sort of navigate that. Maybe they don't really need to because there's probably not too many players signed beyond 2031, but Mets got to. And like I'm kind of sitting there like, oh crap, now we're gonna have to navigate around that. We're already locked in at these things, these contracts that were signed prior to there not being a cap. Now there is a cap. What does that do to those? Is there going to be any sort of wiggle room for those? Are they exempt, or is it proportionate, or whatever? It's going to be a mess. Like there's just a lot of things to figure out. And so I think the soft cap is fair because even with the Mets, we're drafting, our first pick was 35, I think, because we signed Soto and so we lose all the compensation. And there's a direct impact to us making that. And when you're the Devil Rays and you're not, all you're doing is losing people, you kind of build a system to be like, okay, we're gonna invest heavily in scouting, because then when we trade these guys, we want to make sure the guys we get are quality. Anybody we do sign long term, I mean, God bless Wander Franco. I mean, it's like they finally make a move, and it's like you get that.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's hard.
Anyway, yeah, it's just such a difficult situation that they've kind of put themselves into.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to I just don't trust them to do it the right way. Even if their heart's in the right place, I think, like you said, it's going to be a mess. And to be fair, you also said there's only a handful of these players with mega contracts. And that's just part of it, right? I think we think about money spent in terms of your 26-man roster and how much you're allocating to the players on your team. Do you then put caps on how much money you can spend on your data analytics team? Because that is almost just as important nowadays in baseball as how much money you spend on your players. That's the way that you bring costs down. It's like, let's find the Clay Holmes. I mean, talk about Clay Holmes coming from Pittsburgh, who was the best closer in baseball for the Yankees. And the Mets pick him up because they see something, right? The pitching lab. It's all behind the scenes now.
Pitching lab. Yeah, I mean, it's
a thing.
Yeah. I think it's the first kind of how the Patriots Nation was one of those things. All of a sudden, I don't know, are the Mets the first one to have a pitching lab? The first and only time I ever heard that term was Mets pitching lab. I was like, shit, we have a lab? All right.
So moving back to trade deadline acquisitions, I'm curious to know who you have picked for your best three deadline acquisitions in Mets history, or at least in Chad's Mets history. We're going to start at number 3 and work our way up to number 1. So Chad, who do you have coming in at the number 3 spot for the Mets?
This one only I wasn't around for this, but from the impact that I've heard and hear my dad talk about the 69 team, Don Clendenin was a trade deadline pick where the Mets had all the pitching and they just needed some more pop in that lineup, and they acquired him. And hey, that I mean, you still hear about those miracle Mets now. So it's hard for me to go out there, because I never really watched many 69 Mets games. But I'm going with that move at number 3 for me.
So coming in at number 3 for me is Bobby Abreu. This was in the 2006 season. We had just I think, monster of a lineup. And unfortunately, we just had no pitching during this stretch. This was back when we were just trying to get every big bat, and he fit really well into this lineup. In 2006, at the top, starting from the leadoff spot, we had Johnny Damon, Derek Jeter, Bobby Abreu, Alex Rodriguez, Jason Giambi, Sheffield, Matsui, Posada, and Cano. Robinson Cano batting 9th.
Jeez.
9th. I mean, just insane. We gave up C.J. Henry, Jesus Sanchez, Carlos Montesieros, and Matt Smith.
Oh, Matt Smith. Oh, yeah, of course.
I'd say in all fair trade. We also got Corey Lytle in that deal, by the way.
Corey Lytle. He was a Met.
He was a Met.
He was a lot of everything.
All right, number 2 for you.
Number 2. I mean, Maybe this kind of goes to show that we didn't have a lot of great trade deadline acquisitions in my time. I had to go with a little bit of a lean on this one, but the Keith Hernandez deal, he had fallen out of sort of grace with Whitey Herzog. And I mean, it was funny because even on the broadcast yesterday, Keith was talking about how Whitey was testing him. But anyway, so he had fallen out with Whitey Herzog, and just what it meant to the Mets, okay, they didn't make the playoffs in 84 or 85, but that just changed the culture. And the Mets gave up Neil Allen and Rick Owenby, and I mean, that just makes it lopsided. It's in division, which is, I mean, there were only two back in the day. So yeah, neither one of those guys really kind of moved the needle for the Cardinals. It was just one of those things, they had to get rid of them, and they did, and I'm glad they did. And then for some reason they traded them in division. I guess they were like, oh, the Mets, they're terrible, so whatever. But that really changed the dynamics of the team.
Yeah. He had won an MVP with St. Louis. I mean, anytime you bring on a former MVP, co-MVP, and just one of the best baseball guys I think around. I listen to Mets games for that whole broadcast team and watch Mets games because I think they're great, and
they're phenomenal.
Just phenomenal, hilarious, know the game, and tell it like it is. I think that's the one thing I appreciate about Keith, and Michael Kay to a lesser extent, but Keith will just rip.
Oh, he doesn't care.
Will just rip, and I really, really appreciate that. For my number two, I'm going with David Justice. This was in 2000. The Yankees ended up winning the World Series that year, I think. Chad,
yeah.
Is that a year you recall?
I don't remember who they beat though.
Yeah.
I have to look that up.
Let me go back and look that up. Let's see.
Okay, yeah, we don't have to look it up. We don't.
Oh, the Mets. That's right, the Subway Series. What a great pickup, because after. This was great. The Yankees, that was the last World Series they had won until 2009, but they were not a very competitive team. And we make the move for David Justice, and all he did was hit 20 home runs, 60 RBIs in 78 games and win ALCS MVP. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Had just a beautiful swing, and we didn't give up a whole lot. We gave up Ricky Leday, Jake Westbrook, and Zach Day.
No, he was one of those guys. Another NL Easter, watching him play with the Braves all those years, that just smooth. Like he was just smooth. Like just a smooth baseball player. Great, like you already mentioned, the swing. He just was a baller. Like he did everything right. He probably would not get picked off for first base and wait for balls to drop, or that kind of thing.
Absolutely not. I don't think anyone who played in that generation would do that.
No,
that's a new generation. That's the new gen baseball.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. So number one trade deadline pick for you, Chad.
For me, hey, this is one I actually was around for, because I think it came down to the wire. It was off the heels of the no trade of Wilmer Flores. We thought we were bringing Carlos Gomez back. That didn't happen. But instead, we turned around and we dealt Luis Cessa and Michael Fulmer, who actually wound up being pretty good, for Yoenis Cespedes. And that just that was, I mean, talk about just striking while it was hot. That was just the perfect addition to that lineup. I mean, we had the young pitching. I mean, we had DeGrom, we had Syndergaard, we had Wheeler was hurt. We had Dark Knight going. We were just stacked with young, talented pitching, and needed the bat. Wright was still hurt, and is he ever going to play again mode? And Cespedes came in. I think he had 17 home runs, 57 games, 17 home runs, 44 RBIs. The Yellow Canary, I remember that on the SNY broadcast. That team was special, and that was the right person at the right time to just add that thump to our lineup. Went all the way to the World Series, didn't win it, stupid Royals, but that was one of the best trade deadline deals, or the best to me, the most direct impact literally at the deadline. It was the last day, so that for me was the one that won it.
Yeah. I I can't think of another bat traded at the deadline that had a bigger impact than Yoenis Cespedes had on the Mets in 2015.
Yeah.
You just don't. I think I'd have to go back and look at it, but in terms of the impact he had, there may have been bigger names, and he was a big name at the time. I mean, he had played
Yeah.
well everywhere he was. He had
Everywhere.
played with Oakland, Detroit. I think they got him from Detroit that year, right? Coming from
Yeah.
the Tigers.
Detroit.
And it was a
Boston.
different team, just a different team with Yoenis Cespedes in the mix. And, just to bring it back to salary cap, do you know what the Mets payroll was in 2015?
Like where we stacked.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, it was mostly young guns then, so we didn't have a huge salary that year, I don't think.
You didn't. In 2015, the Mets payroll was $101 million.
Holy shit.
$101.5 million. And the team you went up against, the Kansas City Royals, also kind of small to mid-market team, $113 million.
They spent more than the Mets?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that year. Not a wide margin, but still.
No, yeah.
Middle to low end in terms of payroll. But by then the Yankees were, routinely spending $250 million. So you're talking about half the payroll, and you had two very, very good teams in the World Series.
I mean, it was all young, controllable pitching that we promptly ruined,
Yep.
except for DeGrom. But I was going to say the Mets did that without Wheeler, too. He was sidelined that whole year. And I think the reason he didn't come back was that the coupons, this is like whether or not this is true or not, but I've heard that they didn't give Wheeler tickets to go to the playoff games.
Oh,
And he was like, what the hell? And that was the straw.
that's awful.
I mean, poor guy was like rehabbing. And you could tell, like, when Wheeler was on with the Mets, you're like, this guy's going to be good.
Yeah.
But he was just always hurt, and he could never seem to take it to the next level. And you could always hear it in Ronnie's voice, darling. He was always like, oh, yeah, if he could just put it all together. Well, yeah, he did in the next year for the Phillies and every year since. And yours?
My number one, I got to go with another guy who's played with both of our teams. Do you think you know where I'm going to go? Can you
Played
guess?
with David Coney?
Pitcher David Cohn. He came in at the start of what would be sort of the dynasty of the Yankees. We got him in 95, and just a competitor. He had already put together borderline Hall of Fame career by that point, but he got moved. We got him from the Blue Jays. He had been with the Royals, so we got him from a competitor. We gave up 3 players: Jason Jarvis, Mike Gordon, and Marty Jansen. 2 of the 3 never made it to the big leagues.
Yeah.
And all David Cohn did with New York was just win World Series after World Series. He had a 20.3 WAR. He went 64-40 with an ERA of 3.9, and just ERA under any ERA under 4 is fine.
In that era? I mean, in that era, yeah.
Very, very good, if not great. And just a competitor, man. He had won 4 World Series titles, 96, 98, 99, 2000. Does great Yankees color on the broadcast. And in terms of impact, I think it's hard to argue any one single player leaving that large a mark on the franchise from a deadline acquisition than David Cohn.
Yeah. I mean, he went from being one of the best trade pickups we made with Ed Hearn for David Cohn. And then we dealt him at the deadline to Toronto in 92. Do you know who we got back?
No. Who did you get back?
We did wind up getting a Hall of Famer back, but he was sure shit was not a Hall of Famer with us.
Oh, no. 92. You got me.
Jeff Kent.
Jeff Kent?
Yeah.
Jeff Kent was a Met?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for a couple of years.
Wow.
And just couldn't put it together. But guess where he put it together?
With Barry Bonds.
As soon as he got away from the Mets, he won an
San
MVP,
Francisco.
Hall of Fame, yeah. And then we got Ryan Thompson.
Okay.
Who I think, he played for you guys too, right?
That
Ryan
sounds
Thompson?
familiar.
I feel like he was on your roster for a season or two. Maybe I'm wrong, but
we'll say yes. We'll go ahead and say yes.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and say yes. But
Great acquisitions.
Cody,
Love Coney.
I love David Cohn. I was so upset when the Mets moved him, and I guess it was, I don't know how much the coupon, I don't know when the coupon Doubleday split happened, but the Mets didn't want to, it was a contract thing.
And it's always a contract thing.
And it was clear he wasn't going to re-sign. So off he went to Toronto and won the World Series that year, right?
In Toronto, he won the World Series, 92. Yeah, they won the World Series in 92, 91 and 92, back-to-back.
Yep.
The heyday for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Oh, God, yeah. Those were some nasty teams.
They were some nasty teams. Joe Carter, Roberto Alomar, John Olerud.
I love Olerud. Was Olerud on those teams?
Came up in 89 with the Blue Jays.
Okay.
Played for them until 96. Then he went to the Mets.
Oh, man, that lineup. I loved that lineup. Olerud,
Alomar,
Alfonso,
John
Piazza,
Olerud.
Ventura. Oh, God. They were on the cover of Sports Illustrated as best fielding infield ever, ? Because it was Ventura third, Ray Ordonez at short, who was just filthy. Oh, my God. No, he could slap it. He could slap it.
The Blue Jays.
Then we... I like kind of jokingly kind of didn't made us like a gentleman's bet with my sister's friend about, I was like, I think Ray Ordonez could hit 300 one day. He just constantly made contact. I think he wound up hitting 290. Yeah, you could go 1 for 3. I think with the Rays he came close. I think he hit like 288 or 290 or something like that. But
Alomar, John Olerud.
Yeah. And sometimes you just need to leave Flushing. Alfonso at second. Yeah. And it was him,
Oh,
right? Yeah. And because I know they moved him over from third. And then we Olerud at first. That is.
All right, Chad, that's I think going to do it for us. Do you want to make any predictions for the rest of the week?
No.
Cool, neither do I. I predict the Yankees will not play as poorly as they have because we cannot possibly play any poorer than we've played.
Yes, you can. And you will.
God damn it.
What do we play? 6 games this week? I don't know. Do we have Thursday off? Usually we do. So here's my prediction. David Peterson goes at least 6 and no other Mets starter does.
Okay. I think that's a fair prediction.
I'm going to copy-paste that every week.
Well, Chad, this has been a pleasure as always. Make sure you like and subscribe for more Yankees Mets content down below. Follow us on Instagram when we finally get an Instagram page, and we will see you next week.